There are many stories about the Buddha's life, including his death. According to one of the accounts, his last words were, "Remember who you are." On this non-dual path of deep self-inquiry to find out who you are, somewhere along that path, just due to grace, we encounter the teaching that perplexes us, yet it goes right into our hearts, and that is, you are already the self. We all encounter this at some point along the path, this path of spirituality, and specifically non-dual self-inquiry. And that's, there are many stories about the Buddha's life, different incidences, including his death, and he we don't really know. They weren't really taking records or anything, and there was no YouTube or they didn't have all their cameras to document it. But according to one of the accounts of his leaving his body, his last words were, "Remember who you are." Remember who you are. Now, obviously, that was because people around him, disciples of him, and he had thousands. He had thousands, maybe tens of thousands. Some forgot, obviously. Some forgot. Remember who you are. It was important enough that it was kind of his last words, at least in that one story. On this non-dual path, this path of deep self-inquiry to find out who you are, those words kind of ring out, don't they? Remember who you are. The path of self-inquiry is the discovery of who you are. And somewhere along that path, just due to grace, we encounter the teaching that perplexes us, yet it goes right into our hearts, and that is, you are already the self. You're already the Buddha. You are already pure awareness. And so there really isn't anything you have to do to be yourself. Obviously, 2 + 2 = 4 does not have to try to be 2 + it just is. What you are is what you are. And this is a path of discovering what you are, not becoming what you are. But even though that sinks into our hearts, I don't think there's ever been a time when that was immediately realized. But instead, what happened was all sorts of doubts came up. All sorts of images of this highly inadequate, highly undeserving person, right? Who's just humbly on this path, trying to become good enough to earn the grace that would bring us home to God or bring us back to ourselves. This is actually a good thing, because the moment that idea, that perspective, right, that insight happens that I already am, and actually manages to get in there and stick somewhere, right, even though you're almost completely unaware of that happening, the moment that happens, there will be a flurry of all the old habit energies of thought and emotion, right, that have assumed you're not. Right? Our minds get filled with doubt, right? We may feel anxiety or in our bodies. Oh God, that can't be me. All of our ideas, our expectations, our concepts about what enlightenment was come to the surface. Well, it can't be that. Look, It's got this long checklist of things. If I was enlightened, then it would be like this, right? And I haven't had any of the great experience, the legendary stories of these great awakenings like Buddha and Ramana Maharshi and Muji, Papaji, these dramatic stories that happened. Suddenly it was just all falling away. That hasn't happened to me, so it can't be true. It can't be that, right? Well, one of the places I've found a great deal of comfort in is the fact that Nisargadatta Maharaj, I'm sure you're all familiar with him, who was one of the greatest sages of all time, from just a guy selling bidis and little cigarettes and little kiosks around the slums of Mumbai, to one of the greatest uneducated, right? Not really, typical education of a Hindu at that time in his life. Right? Not much, not poor guy. And with a family, four sons, right? Running this little business, making things happen. There's one of the greatest sages of all times, and there is no story about him. He merely talks about meeting his guru. His guru told him pretty much what I just said. You're not who you think you are. Right? You are way more than you think you are. You are the self. Give reality to nothing but yourself. And he said, I believed him. Right? Simple guy. I believed him. I trusted him. He obviously felt his energy. Felt the power, the love, just like I did when I met Muji. And he just believed him. He says, well, I did what he told me to do. Very simple. No spiritual education. No formal practice. He only met his guru a couple of times. And all he has to say about it is that I did what he said. And after some time, in this case like 3.5 years, I realized my true self. That's it. The whole story. No angels singing, no great, thunderous thing, heavens parting, no great insight shared. Just I did what he told me to do, and in a relatively short time, I realized the self. I would love to promote that kind of just simplicity of approach. I didn't have that simplicity of approach. I tried to approach it quite intellectually. I had a lot of knowledge, kept gathering a lot of knowledge, a lot of ambition and aspiration, a fair share of arrogance to go with it. But I see in him the approach that I think is probably the best for all of us, which is, don't put aside all the expectations, all the big stories, the Hollywood epics of an enlightenment, right? Yeah. The way they love to make story. I'm certainly glad they haven't made a story about Buddha in Hollywood, right? Because it would end up being like all the movies about Jesus, swelling music and just emphasizing the suffering and the grandiosity of the whole thing. Instead, just look. Here's what the Guru said. You're not who you think you are. You are already what you're seeking. You are that. It's interesting. I heard somebody who actually speaks the language, could translate Rumi, the poet Rumi, from the original, and it is often quoted, Rumi, the quote that's very famous and very loved, especially amongst the manifestation crowd, that you are what what you are seeking is seeking you. What you are seeking is seeking you. Well, according to this fellow, a more accurate translation would be, you are what you seek. What a difference. You are what you seek. Know this, and you will know that you are what you seek. Now it's very difficult for our minds to comprehend this, which is why Nisargadatta said, I puzzled over it. I pondered. I believed him that it was true. And so, okay, I've got all these doubts and stuff, all this stuff in my head saying it isn't true, but he said it is. And I trust him. I believe him. Ramana said it. Nisargadatta said it. Muji said it. Papaji said it. Buddha said it. All the great masters have said it. Christ said it, and in a little more, not quite such direct language, but he said, I and my Father are one. You are one. Be one in us. To me, it's the same thing. So, be simple. Don't overthink it. You have it on good report from every sage and awakened being who's ever walked the planet. That was the discovery. Oh, you've always been that. And then we're just kind of humbly, yet courageously, facing down the torrent of thoughts and feelings and doubts and concerns and images and expectations that form in our mind. You go, oh, wait. That expectation assumes that I might become the self, the truth, the reality of being at some point. Oh, so that contradicts what the Master told me. So out you go. The feeling of anxiety. What was? Oh, like I'm going to lose something. But I can't lose anything because I'm already that. It's the truth. You can't change the truth. You can't take a part of the truth out and make it false. Nor is, am I going to add more truth to it to make it bigger truth later? This is the truth of me. The doubts are like, well, yeah, there's this habit because for so long I've been identified with who I'm not, and it's like I have that freedom to identify with something else. But I've discovered through, kind of through suffering, through the fact that life didn't work all that well, things don't last, that this is all transient, comes and goes, and truth can't come and go. So, yeah, I'm going to trust the Master. Just keep, little by little, everything that comes up. No, that can't be it. That can't be it. That can't be it, because I'm already that. So this is kind of the simple, simple, the sage of Bombay, right? The cigarette-smoking sage of Bombay approach. Just keep it simple. The Master said, "This is who I am. I believe him. I can trust her, him, her, and I'm just going to stay with that. Simple as that. Simple, dogged, like a person who's just been given something and say, this is it, okay, that's it, and they just hold on to it. So that's the message that has come to me this morning to share with my my beloved friends on this path. What a path it is, too. Yeah. I suppose I can add one thing. While you're doing that, puzzling over it, and just being really almost ruthless with thoughts that contradict what the Master said. Just add in a little bit of this, like, thank you. Thank you. By the power of the grace of the Guru, in this life, I have encountered the truth of me. Yeah. And if it takes me 10 more minutes or 10 more lifetimes, right, of vigilance and diligence and persistence, for that to be, for the delusion to finally vanish, everything false about me to finally vanish, and I realize myself as I am, well, so be it. That is not in my hands. Thank you. Thank you. Grace has touched my heart, has put this in me, and once Grace has put that in, nothing on heaven and earth can take it out.